Welcome to the bold analysis. There is a narrative that is going on in the country, and it's developing from what's happening across the world. One-term presidency. And I remember last week, I did an analysis here and I said, the public reasoning should not be suppressed, should not be narrowed to think, or rather fear-mongering should not get into people's mind that it is an abomination for Kenya to experience a one-term presidency. But another question that keeps on lingering in my mind, and I saw someone even got to me and asked me, Kevin, you've spoken about one-term presidency, but who can defeat President Ruto? I don't have an answer. And so, as you think about that, I want us to go and interrogate and analyze the speech by Hamisi over the weekend when Kalonzo Musyoka attended the burial of father to former Speaker Kenneth Marende in Western. And one of that trending speech was the Caleb Hamisi attack on Kalonzo Musyoka. Because I know quite most of us saw it. Many people maybe some people have also tried to do some analysis on it. But I want to revisit it because there is some eye-opening interpretations that we can draw from that attack. And I want to show you that Caleb Hamisi is on a mission. Listen to this speech.
Mimi, I'm challenging them to join the campaign ya kusaidia baba akue AUC chair. Lakini mambo bure tu hapa wanakuja kuongea. Hiyo ni bure kabisa. Semeni bure kabisa. Kwa sababu mtu kama Jeremia Kioni, na mimi nilikuwa nataka niongee kama ako hapa. Huyo jamaa alidanganya Mudavadi sana 2013. Hadi sasa Wakikuyu wanapigia Mudavadi kura. Mimi wakati huo nilikuwa sijaingia kwa bunge, nikaamini kabisa. Yaani hata polling station ya Mudavadi hakuna kura ilitoka hapo. Hiyo inamaanisha hata yeye na bibi yake hawakupigia Mudavadi kura. 2022 mumeona sasa, Azimio tusukume baba pande mulima. Si muliona dakika ya mwisho waligeuka baba? Sasa hii mambo ya kutuambia hapa ati sisi tushikane na mulima ndio tupate urais, hiyo tena ni uongo wengine mara tatu. Sisi kiongozi wetu Waluya na sisi tunamfuata yule kiongozi Mheshimiwa Wycliffe Ambeza Oparanya. Yeye ndio kiongozi wetu.
Ni ukweli, hata mimi ni mmoja wao, nilisimama juzi nikasema nikipewa motion ya kutoa Ruto nitatoa. Ni ukweli watu hawapendi Ruto. Lakini watu ambao wanatembea hapa wameongozwa na Kalonzo, ndio wanaweza toa Ruto kwa kiti, tusemane ukweli bwana. Let's be serious. Ndio watatoa Ruto kwa kiti hawa. It is true watu hawapendi huyo jamaa. Lakini ati hawa bwana, porekezi mpaka bwana.
Sasa mimi nimeweka peremende kwa mdomo, sasa niwe napiga kelele ya nini? Tulikula peremende. Hiyo peremende nilipatia watu wangu kidogo pia wakule peremende, si ndio? Hiyo ndio mambo. Watu wanaona wanaongea hapa wako kwa tabu kubwa. Na hiyo ndio kweli wa watu wanateseka. Unajua mimi ndio nakaa nao karibu, nikikaa nao karibu wanasema Oparanya afadhali wewe. Sasa sisi tuko kwa tabu. Lakini wakifika hapa hawawezi kusema hayo mambo. Mnasikia? Lakini nyinyi muendelee kushika serikali, kwa sababu serikali ndio iko na mali ambayo inaweza kuleta maendeleo, kusaidia watoto wenu na kusaidia nyinyi wenyewe. Mkiwa mbali ya serikali, basi utakuwa kama hawa tu, unaongea Unaongea na inapita, kwa sababu wanaongea kwa Ruto na Ruto mwenyewe hayuko hapa, asikii. Na mimi siwezi kila siku nikasikia hao, kila siku na report, niwe mtu wa kureport, hiyo si kazi yangu. Mimi nikienda huko ni kuomba mambo ya kuja kusaidia nyinyi. Hapana kupeleka vitina ya kina Kalonzo na kina Jin, hiyo mimi siko. Si ndio?
Itafika wakati tutataka kukuwa president wa hii taifa. Mkitoka hapa muende kwa Wakikuyu, mtapata wako na kura, wako na pesa. Mkienda kwa Wakalenji, mtapata wako na kura, wako na pesa. Na nyinyi unaenda kuomba, unaomba pesa, unaomba kura. Nani atakupea? Nani atakupea pesa tena akupee kura? Nani? I want to tell the governors, wale governors ambao mko hapa, hawa watu wanaitwa toto. Msipowapea biashara, mtatafuta mtu wa kuwapea pesa, mtapata. If you don't empower the local entrepreneurs, the reason for a devolution is for you to empower the locals. Tafutia hawa vijana wafanya. Mimi sitaki kuona Muhindi anafanya kazi hapa Kakamega. Mimi sitaki kuona Msomali anapewa tenda hapa Kakamega. Pea hawa vijana bwana.
This event was a burial ceremony. And by the way, I took time to ask some few reporters about what exactly happened there. Kalonzo Musyoka was accompanied by Eugene Wamalwa, Waititu, Jeremiah Kioni, and the circle around him that moves around with him. They were invited. Kalonzo Musyoka is a personal friend to the former speaker, Marende. Personal relationship between Kalonzo and Marende. And so Marende invited Kalonzo personally. Of course, Kalonzo had to go based on their relationship. Now, I want you to understand that before that speech by Caleb Hamisi and Osotsi, those two politicians are ODM politicians. One is actually a deputy party leader, if I'm not wrong. They spoke immediately. Kalonzo left. Why did Kalonzo leave? According to the report is, when Kalonzo arrived there, of course, everything was just fine. But moments later, local politicians, some local MPs who were there, arrived with a group of rowdy youth. And they arrived when Jeremiah Kioni was actually the one who was talking. So immediately they finished, they rushed to where the choppers were and just left. They left the venue immediately. So after leaving, Caleb Hamisi made that statement. But far from it. I want us to objectively analyze the Caleb Hamisi attack on Kalonzo Musyoka. First, it is not just a crowd pressure. He's not saying it because of the crowd. Because either I'm not seeing that the crowd was so happy about what he was saying. My kid was a funeral, so what was Caleb Hamisi mission? And that is why I realized, from that Caleb Hamisi, I realized that William Ruto and the team are a bit disturbed on Kalonzo. And what Caleb is saying, it has some element of truth, and this is a very balanced analysis. To the other side, I'm going to explain for you Kalonzo's undoing, the part of Caleb Hamisi that I think makes some sense. But what was Hamisi's mission? The speech is to discredit Kalonzo Musyoka candidature. The perception that Caleb Hamisi wants to paint in the minds of those who are there is supposed to serve the interest of President Ruto, and is supposed to discredit. In fact, he's saying, who you, Kalonzo, who you? Yes, since Kalonzo made a presidential stab in 2007, he's never been on top of the ticket. for the last 3 general elections, he was actually deputizing the last 2, he deputized to Raila Odinga. 2022, he was not even on the ballot. What I don't seem to get is what exactly is Caleb Hamisi discrediting in Kalonzo? Because he doesn't come out clearly and say, what is wrong with Kalonzo? He say, who are you, Kalonzo? Who are you? So it's to discredit. Number 2, Caleb Hamisi is telling the Western voters that yes, Ruto is bad, but Ruto doesn't have a competitor. And I can tell you, I think someone was saying in Twitter that if there is something that Kenya Kwanza will not accept, they will try to make all means, to find out, but that by the time you get into the ballot, William Ruto do not have a competitor. Because with the president of Ruto against any other candidate who is formidable, Ruto would actually play a second fiddle to that candidate. Looking at how things are, if things are standing today. Of course, I know that as elections, as we get towards 2027, there will be an element of change. He's telling the constituency of Western that, look, Ruto hana competitor. Is it true? It's upon you to find out. The other objective is this. Kalonzo lacks credible grassroots mobilizer. And this is what I agree with on this is an observation I really concur with from Caleb Hamisi. Kalonzo lacks that credible grassroots mobilizer. But the political card, the tribal card, there is another card that is being played there, and that is by Osotsi. That by the time Jeremiah Kioni was deputizing Musalia Mudavadi never got some votes, even Kioni's polling station. By the Kioni has never responded to it, and I think he was unapologetic the fact that he voted for Uhuru Kenyatta. I think he was saying he looked at dynamics, they could not make it. But there is also another political mistrust card being played on 2022 elections. For people who follow the bold, hata kama mlioanza kusikia leo, if you've been following the bold, my position has been so clear that on what happened in 2027 was very complex. That you cannot just pick one school of thought and say, Mount Kenya never voted for Raila, and you stand with that and say that is it. It was complex. Looking at Uhuru Kenyatta was making a transition, was making an exit, and the problem was not Raila. The problem was venom planted against Uhuru Kenyatta. So Raila Raila was a collateral damage to the personality attacks that had been meted on Raila, on Uhuru Kenyatta. But you can see a tribal card, and the reason why I'm telling you there is something going on. Caleb Hamisi was talking somewhere in Kakamega, and there is a statement he said about some tenders need to be given to locals and not other tribes or other people from other parts of the country. And that's what I'm saying. There is someone planting, thinking and saying that we cannot work with so and so, we cannot work with so and so. These are the people that brag as not being tribal. But I can tell you that there is something Kalonzo is doing. And he's trying to come out of, for long we've been crying that Kalonzo, when you go to Facebook page, Kalonzo is live, he's either in Makueni, Kalonzo is live, he's attending a burial in Kitui, Kalonzo is live, Kalonzo is in Machakos. We really, analysts really complain that Kalonzo is doing some zero grazing within those 3 Makueni counties. But again, his profile has been changing because of what he did, he's doing, trying. I think he's made for the last 1 month, he's made 3 trips in Mount Kenya. He was in Murang'a, he's in Kiambu, and I think he's yet to get to Nyeri. And then this time he was in Western for that battle. So he is made not really quite a huge impact, but he tried to make quite some inroads. And in fact, if you check tweet polls, the country have started thinking of alternative. And Kalonzo's profile is now increasing. Listen to the message he said in Murang'a. Yeah. He got a very good crowd, very huge crowd that was celebrating some musician there.
To decent housing ni right ya kila mwananchi wa Kenya. Chini ya katiba mpya aliyoikabidhi Kenya hii mzee amelala Mwai Kibaki, ambaye tulifanikiwa sana. Mimi binafsi miaka 5 nikimshikilia mzee Kibaki, uchumi ukakuwa marudufu, na ndio tulikuwa tunapangia hata barabara hizi kutoka Nairobi Thika Super Highway. Wakenya watanyanyazwa, Wakenya wataharibiwa hata maisha. Kwa hivyo we will stand. Kesho hatutaki peremende. Kesho tuko kwa mahakama kutetea uwanja wa Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Wangapi wanakataa na uwanja wetu? Nataka tuone. Wangapi wanasema tuendelee na kupigania haki zetu, tukijiandaa kuwapeleka wa nyumbani. Wacha niwaambieni, hewa ya mapinduzi inavuma. Vijana Gen Z wakaanzisha 2024, na tunasema mkirudisha hiyo finance bill kwa njia zozote zile, Wakenya watatoka tena. Tuseme la. Wangapi watajitokeza tena? Tuseme la. Alafu mvumo wa watu kufanya one term umefika. President wa Marekani Biden one term ya miaka 4 amerudi kwa mamlaka Trump. President wa Botswana hata Masasi akasalimu amri, amefanya one term, ametangaza kwamba yeye chama cha rafiki yangu anaitwa Duma Boko kimesweep kila kitu. One term. Liberia vile vile. Kwa hivyo msiogope ati muambiwe Sakayo anaweza kuiba kura. Haitawezekana. Sisi sio wale wengine wamezoea kuibiwa kura.
And he dropped his message going after speaking about his side. Remember, with Moses Kuria hint of a 202 like rainbow coalition, I want to believe that, and I want to say this, with the 202 rainbow coalition, that coalition of 202, I was not much privy to the politics of the moment then. I don't want to lie that I was active. No, I was still young. 202 I was in, I could have been, was it in class 1 or 2 or there? I think class 1 or class 2. It could be class 1, maybe. But when you read the political history books, you will understand that one of the points of clamor for that election was removing Moi. That is what brought them together. It was time to uproot Moi. So if you remember the I am unbogable slogan that the Raila team, it brought Raila, it brought Charity Ngilu, Mwai Kibaki. In fact, it was never 41 versus 1. All the tribes were there. In fact, the candidate was Kikuyu, Mwai Kibaki. And it was a moment of something unitary to bring the country together. Now, William Ruto wants to replay the 2021. And what I don't get is the dynamics. For example, now, yes, you're bringing all these tribes together, you're saying you're bringing all these communities together, and you're creating a unity momentum for what? What is the main goal? If you make state appointments, there is a baggage. And you need to agree. I saw Moses Kuria and I'm like, what is Moses Kuria saying? When the 202 moment came, Kibaki was the candidate. Kibaki did not have a baggage of incumbency. The last time I'd been in government was already some time back. Now, this is Ruto who recently just made state appointments, Leo too, and has picked from some few communities out of the 42. This is the same Ruto that is facing, and then you want to tell us you're bringing unity. Now, unity to do what? Sawa, unaleta comprise zote. What is this one thing joining people together? But, nevertheless, This is just looking at, I don't want to lose my bearing on what Hamisi was saying. There is something Kalonzo can grasp. There are 4 main things Kalonzo must do. These are the must do for Kalonzo. And if he starts doing it today, in the next 1 month, things will change. First, I start with the last, but today let me start with the first. Kalonzo must fold that Azimio and stop talking about Azimio. And stop talking about that Azimio and craft an actionable movement so that he can gain traction and emerge as a threat. Ruto brought, and politics doesn't have very decent shape. Ruto brought very indecent shape. Decent things like Hasla, Dynasty, Ananitak. There were all manner of very crazy things. But I think Kalonzo must bring that identity, and that identity must be in form of a movement, not Azimio. Azimio is dead. You cannot have all those, you cannot have Waititu and call it Azimio. Through that, you initiate something, make an action. Second thing, what will be the face of Kalonzo presidency in the ballot? There are 2 things I want to tell Kalonzo for free. There are 2 things that are in the ballot, and these are the things that William Ruto makes sure Kenyans bury. Human rights and economy. 2 things. In fact, it's human rights and the economy. And it's not the economy of figures, of double digits, we've reduced inflation. No. It's the economy of education. There is the economy of education. People are thinking about how they're going to manage university fees. There is the economy of health. People thinking about how that share is going to help them be able to pay for their health matters. There is the economy of shelter. The whole lie about I am going to change these slums into to towns and very big houses, to decent housing. And you can name them. So you have to bring that. And then when all that, there was Gen Z protest. The Gen Z protest brought clamor for human rights. You need to take that to the ballot in 2027. You need to go and visit. 217 families are still looking for their children that went missing. I think Kalonzo should talk more about that and not just talking, pursue, visit those families, enter, so that you take that. You are going, it has a sympathy card in it. Oh, I'm giving you free. Last, the face Ruto policies directly, and what is not working should be called out. And I think he must infiltrate and disorganize William Ruto, because William Ruto is organizing himself. This will be one of the most difficult ones because Ruto has state machinery. But the more you try to infiltrate, you disorganize Ruto, and then Ruto brands you as a threat. From that end, you build your profile. Let's meet in the next. We are going to look at Nairobi politics, guys.